Well, welcome to an impromptu special edition of the LoG Dynasty cast. I've got compadres Zach and Lewis here. Thanks for joining on short notice. We won't mention who didn't show up on short notice because the house was chaos. Just complete chaos. But thanks for joining, guys.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a great surprise.
Yeah, great surprise. So this is going to be a special mock draft number one of the year for us. Seems kind of silly to mock draft before we know landing spots. So we've got a big old spreadsheet for everybody to stare at. And it might be a little frustrating, might be a little small to read, but I think you guys will be able to see it all right. But what I've got up on the screen are 20. What have I got? Like 21 prospects that I think might be drafted in the first round. We're just gonna look at the first 14 picks. This is our 14 team league. It's half PPR, and so I think Lewis, you put it best. What we can do differently than just watching an actual channel with people who watch a ton of college football is talk about our own teams and see what people need and what makes sense there. I've spiced it up a little bit. What I've done here, in addition to just like the names of these players, what their position is, their height, weight, all that good stuff, we've also got landing spot. So I went to tankathon.com, which I am very fond of as an Orlando Magic fan. On tankathon.com, they, for every sport, major sport, they do mock drafts, they do projected picks, things like that. And so I just ran in the latest mock draft and put that down, like where they landed and what day and what pick, or what round and what pick here. So this would be like Bijan was drafted by the Bucks, first pick, or first round, 19th pick, basically. Guys like Bryce Young drafted, first round, second pick. Just for some context here, we're working with a one quarterback league, again, half PPR. So 14 teams start 8, which isn't much, I know, compared to a lot of leagues. So studs are super important. I don't know, is there anything else you guys want to say about our league before we kind of get started? Covered
No,
it.
but if we make interesting picks, there might be a reason.
Okay.
If
All
we're
right.
trying to be realistic for the league,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
not in the first round.
Yeah. So I think we can go through these teams, talk about what they need a little bit. So we'll pull up our sleepers here and just kind of sleeper's the best. I'm a sleeper shill. But we'll pull up the teams, talk about what they need, and kind of make the picks that way. Some of us might factor that in more than others. Some people just grab value, who they think the best player is, that kind of stuff. So the way we're going to do this, since there's 3 of us, we'll just keep rotating. I'll pick first. Zach, you can pick second, and Lewis, you can pick third. And we'll just keep rotating. So I'll get the first, the fourth, the 7th. Math is hard. I'll keep going. 10th, things like that. And Zach, you'll get the next set. So that means we get to do the Eddie picks at the end, which I bet Lewis was a little sad about not getting to do one of those. But all right, so I'll start
No,
out.
I don't think I can make those picks objectively because it'll just be picking the players that I want to take, like making Eddie take the players I don't want to take.
Right,
Because
right.
I would go right after that.
There is a little gamesmanship here. If you really want a guy, you might on the pod say, "Oh, this guy's really good. Please take him, Penny. This is what you need." So I don't really have to go into much detail on the first pick. I don't think I have to explain why Bijan Robinson is so good. And actually, on another screen, I'm going to pull up college football reference just because I want to and talk about these guys each time. Bijan Robinson, he is out of Texas, a junior. I mean, what can you say about this dude? What can you not say? I guess he's played. He attempted 258. He had 258 rush attempts, 1580 yards, 18 touchdowns, 19 receptions, 2 touchdowns there. So 20 total on the year. It's hard to put that into context as a not a big college football fan, but that's a lot. It's a lot.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Underwood, and I love to add Metamucil powders as part of my.
Getting a lot of feedback on something there. I don't know if you guys heard that, but okay, good. I was getting a weird ad.
Is the feedback in the room with us right now?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the pick though. I don't really care where he goes. In this case, he went to the Bucks. That's you can talk about that landing spot. There are some interesting things there. Obviously, if Brady comes back, that's a fun offense to be a part of. Although this year was not so great. Maybe there's a coaching change, things like that. If Brady doesn't come back, they'll probably feed him the football a million times anyway. So yeah, I don't think Rashad White or Leonard Fournette is a. If they're drafting Bijan, Fournette's not going to be re-signed there. So I just don't think either one of those guys are a threat because White's more of a pass-catching third down back. Although they tried to make him more than that with Leonard Fournette being so bad at times. So anyway, Bijan's my pick. I think it's consensus, and I don't know what else there is to say. He's like the next Saquon. So
yeah, I feel like the only time we'd get a discussion is if he went to like a truly bad landing spot, like if Indy took him or something like that, and then the Chiefs trade up and take Gibbs, and then you just have a Jonathan Taylor, Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation.
Yeah. I just don't know. Even then, this dude just checks too many boxes. I feel like, but I agree. That definitely happens. Like this past year, Sky Moore. I fell for the Sky Moore trap in one league. We'll see how he does later on, but landing spot can really influence things. At the top, it really shouldn't as much. I feel like it should be more of a decision maker later in the draft, but.
Yeah, I think if people go back to like these discussions and the mock drafts we've done so far, and then kind of compare that to who rocketed up just because of landing spot, then you can kind of you can make your own decisions on how much you want to believe in the landing spot versus the talent that people thought they had when they didn't have landing spots.
Right. Anything else?
I saw that he averaged 12 yards per carry in high school.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. what was his like? His stats were crazy. It was like 2,000 yards, over 2,000 yards every
per
year. I mean, I know people are supposed to like dominate in high school when they're this good, but like that's stupid.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. I love it. But yeah, I don't think there's any like team fit either to worry about here.
What? You don't think he'll have trouble beating up my other running backs?
Well, I just don't think it matters. I think you take him and you trade him if you want to. So
yeah.
All right, Zach, let's talk about the more interesting picks here.
Ready for number 2?
I'm ready for number 2. So we got Colin up on the board.
Edmondson with the D. Don't forget.
Deshaun.
Yeah, with this, I think whenever we're talking about a few teams that are less active in the trade market, shall we say, you look a little more toward need. But here, for me, need and value are the same. So I'm not going to overthink this. Going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs.
Put him on the board.
The receiving chops that this guy has are amazing. And obviously is a poor man's Bijan Robinson, but I'm also not really concerned about where he lands. I think he's going to get work, and eventually he'll be the lead back wherever, and he might be the lead back from day one.
So
I've seen a lot of mocks him going first round. So
he's going to the Rams in our mock. Does that in the second round? So second round capital there. So what do you think about that? You don't care?
Yeah, I mean they're a weird team. Like obviously they won the Super Bowl and then they used all their assets to do it, and then a horrible. It wasn't the worst season post Super Bowl that any team had. I've got Cooper Kupp, so I'm hoping he's bouncing back. Stafford's kind of a question mark, but when the rumors were swirling about Antonio Gibson, I was like, that would be awesome. So Jahmyr Gibbs is probably a little bit better than the other Gibby.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that would be solid.
Yeah, he had, what does it look? It looks like he had 44 receptions on the year, 444 yards as a running back. It's insane. 10 touchdowns.
And if you look at Edmondson's roster, he fits in perfectly. I think it's probably his biggest area of need. He's got a couple of wide receivers. Sure. We'll see what happens with Kenny Pickett. He's got Hawk and
he's got Javonte.
So it's perfect.
He's got Javonte who could come back.
I didn't check the IR. Fair.
but I mean, Javonte's not going to play for probably half the year. I mean, it was a really bad tear. I don't know if you can count on him for a while. And who knows what that offense looks like. I mean, I'm not sure, but yeah, I totally agree with everything you're saying. I mean, he's got stud written all over him, and he's picked on in the second round running backs. Gotta love that. And there's actually not too many of those on our list. Honestly, I don't think there's any other second round running backs.
No, I was looking through it. I couldn't see anything.
There's not, which is interesting given how deep this class is supposed to be. So I think that's going to make our later picks a lot harder.
Yeah, I think that will change after free agency. Then you'll see if these teams actually re-signed running backs or new teams signed them. So I would think there would be at least 2 more in the second.
Yeah. Would
be my guess.
Yeah. So is the Cam Akers revival not really a thing here for the Rams? Are they moving on? Is that what happens?
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into it since we don't know if he's going to go there. But
he's going to go there. This mock is perfect.
If I was selecting Jahmyr Gibbs and he went to the Rams, I wouldn't lose a lot of sleep over Cam. Sorry, Josh.
Okay. All right. So I think that's perfect. Receiving back next, Eckler. Maybe they say those are kind of comps for this guy. He's smaller, but 200 pounds is a little iffy for a running back, but whatever. He's amazing. He's proven it. All right, so now everything gets pretty interesting. I think first 2 picks are kind of chalk, and in most drafts for one QB. So, Lewis, what are your thoughts here?
I think this is the one team that JSN could go to where Jordan doesn't immediately just pick JSN and walk away. I think with it being the Raiders and with him already having Lamar and Bateman on his team, maybe he would rather not triple up on the Ravens. So I could see him considering Jordan Addison, but I think in reality he would trade back to the 6th pick.
We're really getting deep here. I like it.
But ignoring all the depth, like all that in-depth possible things, I think the 3rd pick should be Jackson Smith and Jigba. And so that's what I'm going to do. I feel like also if he goes to like a great landing spot, to me, that could be a conversation for 102 as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody's in love with him. If he gets the draft capital in the right landing spot, this dude is electric. So Obviously didn't play much this past year, which is too bad. But as a sophomore, let's just look at these numbers really fast. In 13 games, he had 95 receptions, 1,600 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Pretty sure that's better than Olave and Garrett Wilson.
The counterpoint is, was he more open because Olave and Wilson were on the outside? So it's hard to. There's always the
They're
other
not
side
getting
of the
doubled
coin.
very much with those dudes on the roster.
You're not, yeah. And so
you're not going against the number one cornerback a lot of times either.
Yeah. So I think maybe for people who haven't looked at mocks as obsessively as some of us have, this is an interesting point. You know, we're looking at a guy 3rd overall who didn't play this year, like hardly at all, and we're like, yeah, I think that's good. like it's a scary pick because he didn't play at all, but he had a great sophomore year. And from what I understand, guys who have a big sophomore year, that's a really good sign. It's, maybe freshman year you're giving them a little bit of a pass, but the sophomore year, if you're breaking out, having for wide receivers, that's awesome. So I think it's a great pick. That might actually happen. We'll see. It's fun having someone else pick for me. All right, so at 4, we've got Justin. All right, so kind of looking down the list here, and part of me feels like Justin is gonna go running back. I just have this feeling that that's what he wants to do. Now, does it matter what he wants to do? What would I do? Is maybe the exercise here. So, I feel like it's gonna be hard to ignore Quentin Johnston if he goes 9th overall. If you're looking for that talent, now if we look at Justin's team, and we look at his wide receivers, he's got Jalen Waddle, he's got Jerry Jeudy, he's got my boy Jahan Dotson. Who
is that just his name officially? Your boy, Jahan
my boy. Yeah, I mean, I tried all year. He didn't budge, which I guess was good. I saw a stat that Jahan Dotson missed the rookie cutoff mark for yards by 1 yard or something like that. And so he must be a bust, like that. Was it 550 or something? I forget.
Yeah,
550, 525, something.
Yeah, it's
something
one of those numbers. And
very random.
A very random number. But if rookies hit that number in receiving yards, they're supposed to be awesome. And he missed it by a yard. So I guess you should trade him to me for something, Justin. I know you got a lot of wide receivers. You got Najee and Burrow, and it'd be really nice to add a running back. But the way this mock kind of fell, I don't know if it's obvious which running back you would pick. Guy,
he's gonna take Charbonnet. He loves the Cardinals.
Okay, yeah. So maybe we just pencil that in because that's where my head was at if I was gonna pick a running back for him. And I was also thinking about a receiver. But we're doing team need. Charbonnet, it feels like the best and the safest pick. He's got, what's his name, James Conner ahead of him, who is just made of glass. Dude is just not going to make it another season. I don't feel like. Maybe he will. But Charbonnet is a big dude. He's the biggest running back in the class, I think, at 6'1", 220. He stayed for an extra year, which is a little bit concerning. I think a lot of people wonder why he did that, because he could have, last year's class. The big knock on last year's class was you had 2 running backs. You had Brees, you had Kenneth Walker, and everybody else was kind of a dart throw. Okay, James Cook, maybe Dameon Pierce ended up being a big one, right? And he was drafted in the 4th round. And usually those guys, you don't know if they're going to pan out or not. They're dart throws. So I think Charbonnet would have come out and been number 3 in that class, but he did not. So as far as team need, if Charbonnet comes up and splits carries at first and then takes over the role, that'd be great for Justin's team. I think it's a good pick here. Any other thoughts on that one?
Am I up next?
Yeah, you're up next for Colin.
Colin. So I get the dudes who don't trade as much.
You do. You do. You get the
Which is
Collins.
totally cool.
Hey,
So
if you want
looking at
if you want second round picks, Colin is your dude.
Yeah.
Does not care about them.
Him and Ralph both. Okay, so looking at Colin's roster, we talked about this on a previous pod where we said because he doesn't trade as much, like he's got to nail this pick, right? So
Yeah.
it's like a high leverage position here. But he has a clear need at his RB spot here. To me, this is we haven't really talked about tiers too much. But this is sort of in between tiers. So I'm struggling here. If I was going based on value, I would go wide receiver. But if he doesn't trade, he needs to get a running back. So I'm gonna go with Sean Tucker here.
Sean Tucker.
With that landing spot though, that landing spot is brutal.
Well, first of all, the screen is so small I can't read that. But also, I don't care about landing spot right now. So
trust me, if you right click on that
strategies.
screen, you can focus on it and it makes it bigger, so I can actually read it now.
Oh yeah, you should definitely do that if you haven't right clicked.
Focus this person. Okay, cool.
I mean, they have him going to the Giants.
So maybe it's good for us to have different styles, though, right? Because that, might not happen.
I completely agree. But if he goes to the Giants, you can't take him fifth. And if Saquon's still there, you can't take him fifth. Yeah,
totally agree.
So yeah, and I guess order wise, right? Free agency is going to happen first, and then we'll have the draft. So we'll know by then if Saquon is a Giant or not. But if he's not, this is looking spicy. This would be a spicy pick. I would like it a lot. But
I'm malleable. If you want me to factor that in, I can.
I think this is fine. I think this is fine because this makes the most sense for his team. He's if he gets another wide receiver, that's great. But he's got Devin Singletary as his RB2 right now. I guess does he also have? He has somebody else. He has AJ Dillon, who they could cut Aaron Jones, and he could be his RB2. But that offense really wasn't that great this past year. So I don't know how great of an RB2 that is.
And I think Rodgers is going to go to the Jets.
Yeah, Rodgers might go to the Jets. Yeah. Exactly. Right now we kind of
love show.
Yeah.
There's no other reason. There's no other reason to sign Hackett that quickly in the offseason.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking Tucker here, so I think that's a solid pick.
Yeah, I think if he goes anywhere else and still gets high, if he still gets third round capital and goes somewhere without the best running back in the league, yeah, I think he's absolutely 4 or 5.
Yep.
We haven't really talked about his measurables, partially because I don't have them in front of me, but I know that he is track star fast, right?
Yeah.
Him and A-Chain are like the fastest dudes.
I think A-Chain is actually like scary fast, and Sean Tucker is like really, really fast.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Sean Tucker's built like a running back and really, really
yes, exactly.
He can catch
5'10", 210. Yeah, 210 is pretty good, pretty solid there. He can catch the ball.
I would feel really good about taking him. I'm jealous of whoever gets him.
Yeah, agreed. All right.
Okay.
Lewis, you're up next for. Is it actually your pick here?
Yeah.
That's
funny. And then it's up me for my pick.
I know.
You have to do it for real.
Yeah.
You can't play games.
Here's our for real picks. So.
For real, I want a wide receiver to drop to me, and the 2 of the top 3 are still there.
Both picked in the top 15. So they got the draft capital, like high draft capital.
Yeah. So Quentin Johnson definitely has more upside, for sure. Jordan Addison definitely has a higher floor, for sure. I think if they somehow sort out the quarterback in Carolina, that could be really interesting. But
Frank
I think
Reich.
But I think Jordan Addison just works so well on that Packers team, especially if Rodgers is still there. You have Jordan Addison working short stuff. You have Christian Watson going long. So I think I'm going to take Jordan Addison.
All right. So comps to him, from my understanding, is like what, Hollywood Brown? Is that fair?
From like a size perspective, like a side speed perspective, like the size of a slot guy, but actually plays outside just as much.
Right.
Apparently, Addison says that he tries to model his game off of Calvin Ridley, so that kind of makes a little bit of sense. I think Calvin Ridley's a little bit taller, but
and a lot older. He's an old man now, but he's gonna be great. Right, Zach?
Hey, he's fresh, baby.
just hope he doesn't gamble anymore. Yeah, so Addison goes to the Packers. He didn't have the craziest year at USC, but he still produced. His sophomore year was the big year for him.
And it would be a real kick in the butt to Rodgers on the way out if they finally spend a first round pick on a wide receiver after they trade him away.
Yeah,
agreed.
All right, so this
I like that pick for you a lot.
Yeah, I think it's great if you get one of these 3 wide receivers. Because I mean, for your team especially, you can wait. So you don't need that running back right now to try and win a championship. That's not your plan. You got Bijan, but that's an obvious. You have to pick him first overall. So, okay, so it's my pick next. So my team has a ton of wide receivers on it right now, but does that mean I skip wide receiver? That's just not how I operate. That's not how I operate at all. So even though it doesn't look like the best move for my team this year, maybe I have to make moves. I'm going to pick Quentin Johnston just because of the upside. I don't care that he's on the same team as DJ Moore. I just think he's got all the measurables. People worry about how he what is it, body catches that are bad, or is it hand catches?
Yeah. You're supposed to catch with your hands.
Supposed to catch with your hands, and
according to all the Reddit scouts.
According to all the Reddit scouts, that's a really big problem. But then there are Reddit scouts that come in and say that's not a big problem. So, but yeah, there are concerns about the way he catches the ball. But he just blazed everybody. 6'4". He's fast. He's super, super fast. He tends to disappear a bit during a game. You can forget he's there, but he'll put up big numbers a lot of weeks. So I'm pretty excited about getting somebody with that kind of upside at 7. Because mainly, I mean, you look at my team, there's not really a standout wide receiver 1. There's like a lot of decent guys, but there's a huge range in fantasy of wide receiver 2s. I feel like it's just grown. It's not just 12 guys or whatever. It feels like a big group of guys that any year could really come out on top there. So I have a bunch of gambles, but I'd like to take another gamble and see if I can't get a wide receiver 1 here with the talent of Quentin Johnston. So that's my pick there.
Well played.
All right, we got Justin up next. I think you were part of this trade. Is that right? For this?
Yeah, that's my pick.
This is your pick. Hilarious.
But I mean, hard to even track it, but that was in the infamous 3-way Keenan Allen trade. And Kyler Murray was involved.
The inaugural 3-way trade.
Was it the first one? I know there were 2.
I think so.
I think you're right. That's pretty rad. So we had a good time, but Justin, like you said, Lewis, with Mizbach, he's like, I don't even care on paper what the value is. I just want a first round pick. Like, I'll give you second, but I need my first round pick. So anyway, I gave it up, and that's fine. But yeah, it's Justin here. So again, a guy who trades relatively infrequently,
but considers every offer you get that you send him. Like, he doesn't ignore them. He thinks about every single trade you send him.
That's true. There are levels to this. He does respond.
Yeah. Edmondson responds. I want to take a minute. Edmondson does respond. He just doesn't get back to you. You know, like you'll get the first response about it, but then it'll just be kind of conversation over.
That's true. We're not insulting anybody.
We are.
But, yeah, I think Roush made 2 or 3 trades on the year, so you know he's not active, but he's not super active. I'm really torn here because, you know, if I look at sort of tiers and how I value dudes, this is sort of in the 4th tier for me. There's a lot of guys in here. You know, of the wide receivers, I feel like Josh Downs is sort of head and shoulders above the rest of the wide receivers. Maybe Keyshawn Butte, I don't know. And you have a couple other running backs. But this may be controversial, but I'm looking at his lineup. I'm looking at his draft picks. He doesn't draft again until 211. I think Kincaid's going to be gone. I'm going to go Michael Mayer here, and I think that he's going to go Michael Mayer here. He locks down his tight end for maybe a decade. It's the most sure thing in this draft, and then he doesn't have to worry about it. I think the more he thinks about that, it's going to feel real good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible.
Yep.
Yeah, first round draft capital for a tight end. It's pretty good.
Yep, I agree. I feel like Michael Mayer makes a lot of sense here. Yeah, Lions. The Lions like their rookie from this past year, but I don't know if he doesn't compete with Mayer in terms of talent in any sort of way.
I agree.
Can't remember his name, but he was like a 4th or 5th round dude. But Mayer's 6'4", catches the ball like crazy.
And he's going to play right away because he can block.
Yeah. Those are very important facts there. So I think Justin would be pretty happy with this draft if he came out with a running back and a tight end, because now he has options there. The question mark is like, the thing to think about is they don't always pan out, right? These picks don't always pan out. We don't know what they're going to be, but this is the best way to get a star player. The cheapest way
for one pick. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just the cheapest way. So,
and I'd probably throw one more thing on there, which is just, again, if it were me, I would trade down a little bit. I think you could probably get him, 10, 11, 12.
Mm-hmm. The only problem is the guy picking right after him has he has Waller.
He has Waller.
Anthony has
Waller.
No,
you make a great point, and that I totally forgot. You're right. I think that probably spurs this on. I don't think Penny passes up at 9. You're right.
Well,
this does make.
Would you feel good with Darren Waller after this season?
Oh, on my team, sure. I'd be fine on my team.
I asked the wrong guy.
Excellent.
Most people would not.
Yeah,
that's a good point. All right, we can move on to 9 if you're ready.
Well, this makes the decision a lot easier for Anthony. I think he's going to pick his favorite running back and go for it. Because he's got Derrick Henry, who's going to be amazing until all of a sudden he's not. And Miles Sanders was really good this year, but do they even keep him? And so I feel like, if ignoring the draft capital on here for a second, he's probably going to be picking between, and then jump in, guys, if you think I'm missing any running backs, Tank, Zach Evans, and A-Chain. I feel like are the three he's going to be. You think? Okay. That was going to be the 4th person I threw in there. So those 4.
And Kendrick didn't get picked in the first 3 rounds in this mock. So just throwing that out there.
So ignoring the draft capital on the screen, I think it would be Tank. But seeing Devin A-Chain going to the Miami Dolphins in the 3rd round.
I know. I don't know when I was going to bring this up, but Devin A-Chain. The Miami Dolphins is the premier landing spot for a running back. Just like
any running back that goes to the Dolphins is going to be in the conversation for the number 3 running back, like whoever it is.
And then
this isn't devil's advocate. This is honestly more for my own education. I hear that a lot too. Mm-hmm. Can somebody actually explain why? Because I can see the argument against it.
So it's Mostert and Jeff Wilson were amazing for running backs, and they're both free agents. And so if you put someone in there with good draft capital and like some kind of pedigree, the idea is that it's just going to be like high-powered offense. You really can't stack the box because of those wide receivers. And if Tua is healthy,
and they're just about speed, right? That's the
yeah,
reason. Mostert, that's what you get out of him, speed. And so A-Chain, you just throw him in there as a replacement, but he's ridiculously fast and young now, so they just kind of recycled that formula.
like the idea is he's gonna go something in the 4.2s.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
And
Like,
and then I was like, oh, he could. So I thought like, oh, he just be Chris Johnson. And then I looked up Chris Johnson. So Chris Johnson did like went like a 4.23 or something like that in the 40,
right.
but was also 6 feet tall and 210 pounds.
Wow,
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's no wonder that he was ridiculous. So yeah, I think Penny's gonna take Devin A-Chain.
Penny's taking
I
A-Chain.
see. Love it. We're pronouncing it right because we do our homework.
A-Chain.
There are many different
Akane.
pronunciations across the YouTube dynasty.
Dude, I mean, you could mess all of them up. It seems like, oh my gosh, one of the guys that might go in the next 2 picks has a fun name that I like to hear mispronounced. Yeah. So
also Quentin Johnson. It's Quentin Johnson everywhere. It drives me crazy.
It is. Yeah, it's so annoying. It's like, come on, guys. You see that T there? Oh man. All right, so it's my pick. So I got 2 kind of back end picks here, cheap picks, and it's a deep running back draft. So I would be tempted to take a shot on a running back with one of these 2 picks. I would also be tempted to take my boy Kayshon Boutte here because he went pretty early in the 2nd round to a landing spot where I feel like would be pretty good if they do draft a quarterback. In this mock, the Colts drafted CJ Stroud. So if you had Stroud and Boutte there, that would be a pretty good combination. So this, I'm kind of looking between Evans, since he's going to a spot where he could get work with the Eagles. I don't think Miles Sanders is going to be there. So I'd be tempted between kind of those 2 guys. Probably lock down Evans here with my pick. Evans is kind of a controversial pick. I see him all over the place in mocks. Like sometimes people pick him, 4th, and sometimes he doesn't even make it in the 1st round. And I think his landing spot's going to be a big deal. The Judkins that outplayed him pretty hard his last year here at Ole Miss. But he has all the measurables. He's super fast. Like you watch his tape, occasionally he's busting out these like very quick runs. And if he gets some decent draft capital, he is a running back with a pulse and is talented. At this point, that's kind of what we're doing in the dynasty community here. The running back situations can change so much so fast. And if you've got a guy with any sort of talent and a good situation, they could produce. Think about like Latavius Murray, for example, this year. He ended up being a pretty good running back, right? So if I'm looking for taking a shot on a guy, it's either Evans, Bigsby, Kendre Miller were kind of the choices, and I feel like those guys are all kind of even in my book. I'll take Evans with the landing spot here. Maybe one of the more controversial picks we've made so far, though.
And not if he goes to the Eagles in the 3rd round, though.
Yeah.
And Miles leaves,
Yeah. That's the other part. Miles Sanders comes back, then probably not too excited about him.
All right, I'm picking for you at number 11. So obviously, I was listening to what you said, so that's helpful. Yeah, I think if it were me, I would love to leave your draft with 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers just for balance. And, a running back has positional scarcity. But I know you're an active trader. We all know that about you.
You do.
I just
Too
heard
active.
that you love the Boutte. You're a Boutte guy. And in this mock, Tank is in the 4th round, as you said. So that's sort of not great, or at least a big question mark. So I think with your pick here, also Keyshawn going to the Colts. Pittman has been rumored in trades because the Colts may jump up and grab their quarterback at 1. They've been really rumored to go get that. If Pittman leaves, Keyshawn's number 1. He's going to have a huge target share. And who do we have there? Them getting a quarterback on here?
CJ
Stroud.
CJ Stroud, right? So that would be fun. So Bilo FC, I think, goes with Keyshawn here.
Okay, all right. So 3 wide receivers off the board for a team
This is
worth
why
1,000 wide receivers.
This is why I was doing anything I could to not trade you pick 11, Jordan.
We'll see how it goes. This draft capital is such a big deal at this point, and that's what I think. I wasn't in love with Evans. If I had to pick a running back here, just based on talent, I mean, I kind of like Tank better. Honestly, Kendrick Miller's pretty good. I don't think he's like excellent at anything, but he seems pretty good at everything. And Zach Evans kind of disappears on his own team sometimes. So it's like, how do I trust him with an NFL team? But
I'm just gonna believe whatever the NFL tells me about Zach Evans.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the easy way out. So anyway, I like how that draft went for me so far. So next pick up, Lewis.
I mean, I think Zach is just gonna sit here and be like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna get to pick Josh Downs," and I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, Downs is great. Downs would be the other guy I would really like for that pick that Zach just made. So I like Downs a lot. What is he?
I don't really see anyone that we looked at. I don't see anyone else that you would even really consider that's on this list, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at positional need, the only one I feel like I really have at this point is a little bit of running back depth with the uncertainty of Dameon Pierce and knowing that running backs get hurt. I mean, it would be tough to turn down either Tank or Kendre. I'm with you, Jordan. I love Kendre. I think he's going to rise in the combine and hopefully sneak into the 3rd. But I side with you, Lewis. I'm knowing how much I trade. Josh Downs' value, I don't think I could pass it up.
Yeah, he's a smaller wide receiver, but he's awesome. He's all over the place.
He catches with his hands, apparently.
He catches with his hands. Yes, we like that. He's better than Quentin Johnston, apparently, at catching the ball. Natural wide receiver. All right, so
Eddie with 2, nice.
So we got Eddie with 2 picks here at 13 and 14. I was gonna pull up Eddie's team, but I'm not. I mean, there's just we could pick whatever we want baby. Here. So he's got so that is something to talk about. I really do think we're at the 13th pick. People say like, oh, in 1 quarterback leagues you can't pick a quarterback in the 1st round. Well, we're in a 14-team league, and 2.01 in a 12-team league is perfectly fine apparently for quarterbacks per Reddit. So 13 here. If we look at how this all went, if I were to pick a quarterback, there's a couple to choose from here. Bryce Young going to the Texans. I don't love his weapons right now. Brandon Cooks is probably gone. Nico Collins is, he's all right. He's got Dameon Pierce, so he's got a good running back for now. But yeah, not a lot of weapons there. CJ Stroud though, if he got Butte, and I don't know if Pittman's going to be there. But if he has both those guys,
Alec Pierce too.
Alec Pierce, yeah. I mean, that's and Jonathan Taylor. Like that feels like a good offense. So, yeah, I would be tempted there. But Eddie can play the long game. I think at this point, so I would just pick the talent if I were him. And the talent in my mind is Bryce Young. So that's what I would pick for Eddie here at 13.
So I think that basically quarterback and wide receiver and Michael Mayer, if he's here, are the only things Eddie should consider. Eddie
I was
should
kind of thinking that too. I
Eddie
mean,
should just not take a running back
the
whatsoever.
only counterpoint to that is, somebody like Ken Walker or even Dameon Pierce, who shot through, his KTC value just really went up really fast throughout the season. So if he takes a running back, there's always gonna be teams that are like, I will pay for a running back mid-year.
Yeah,
But
that is true.
I see what you're saying, and I think I agree. Play the long game with the assets.
Yeah, if he could get a running back that hit, he could split that into probably two assets that are better than what he used to pick him at this point. So that would, if it were me, I would just hope Trey Lance is good and take two wide receivers.
Yeah. So if it were me,
Or
and I
take
was making the pick,
Bryce Young.
Take
Bryce Young and trade. Take Bryce
What if
Young
he
and
takes
trade
Bryce
Trey
Young and
Lance.
CJ Stroud?
Yeah, he could take both of them. Yeah, I think with everything that's happened with Brock Purdy here, like, what if this dude wins the Super Bowl? Like, what are they gonna do? Like what happens there?
Hey, Atlanta Falcons. Hey, we've got a second-round pick here. Give me Trey Lance.
Yeah, that's true. That would be fun. Yeah, obviously.
I would love to.
Okay, I'm a Trey Lance believer. You all know that because I drafted him in our startup. Like, I think he's awesome, but the situation is strange. It's one of the weirdest situations I've ever seen for a quarterback. Getting hurt and Jimmy G getting re-signed, and then he's right back in the lineup after a big injury. It's just. It's not been great for him so far. I mean, we gotta wait on some of these guys. He's talented, but well, we'll see. We'll see.
If you're listening to Eddie and you want Bryce Young, then I'd be happy to trade for Trey Lance.
Yeah, true. All right, so we'll go on to Zach here.
Yeah, I'm up here. This is tough. I think two guys jump out to me. Obviously, Tank, who has fallen. I think he's gonna get drafted in the third, but we'll see. And Zay Flowers for me. I'm a big Zay guy. He's a poor man's Josh Downs, but not that poor. I think he's really good. Where did he go here? Goes to New England. Oh, I hate that. I want to. But they need guys. I mean, their wide receiver room is bad.
It's one of the worst in the league, if not the worst.
Yeah, based on how this mocks, I would go Zay Flowers to Eddie at 14.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Upside dude. Not as much hype. That's the type of guy that you're looking for, and maybe you've drafted a wide receiver too for your team for the future here. So
I think about Jalen Hyatt as well. Like, it would come down to Jalen Hyatt versus Zay Flowers. I think for me,
Litnikoff winner. What a fun name. Yeah. I think those two are great choices. Jalen Hyatt going to the Browns in this mock, so
it's gonna be Will Fuller.
Yeah, everyone says he's gonna be Will Fuller. So you got Donovan Peoples-Jones. They've got Amari. Is Amari under contract for a couple more years?
He is, but there's been talk they could trade him or maybe release him. I'm not sure.
But that would be
salary
Njoku,
purposes.
Hyatt. That would be a fun offense. I don't know if he would get a ton of action his first year, but maybe.
He would run a lot of routes really straight down the field, really fast.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would get thrown to a lot, but he's going to do a lot of running.
All right, so we've rounded out the first round here. We've got all the picks on the board. What guys besides we mentioned Jalen Hyatt? Is there anybody that sticks out that maybe should have been drafted? Notice, I'm just gonna throw this out there. We didn't draft Stroud or Levis. They were picked 4th and 7th overall. I think it'll be interesting. But in super flex leagues, these guys are gonna go early. They'll go top 6 or 5 even. Especially if they get this sort of draft capital. I mean, Stroud would go 2nd, I think, in Superflex or 3rd. But we don't play Superflex. So it is interesting that like guys can go that early and you wouldn't even pick him maybe in the first round in our league, but this feels pretty typical draft wise. Anything else stick out to you guys?
I mean, it just makes like just the people that need quarterbacks the most are me, Colin, and Eddie Edmondson.
Mm-hmm.
And like Edmondson's not going to spend the second pick on a quarterback.
No.
So
does he have a second round pick?
Yep.
Okay.
He has chalk, so he's got 2.02, right?
Yeah, so he's got 2.02. You know, he's gonna get a shot unless who's 2.01? Is that you? That's yeah.
That's right.
So unless you might go, you could get Stroud here, and that would put him in a little bit of a bind because I know Edmondson couldn't pick a player from UK. I just don't think he could do it.
Nope,
I don't think he
definitely
has
not
the fortitude to do that. So
yeah, but if Tank and Kendra Miller are on the board, it'd be hard to pass up.
That'd be totally fine for him. That'd be great for either team.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are the kind of guys that are like, man, I feel like they should have gone for sure. Before you see this mock, like if this mock had gone differently, Tank and Kendra would easily go.
Oh yeah,
top 14, maybe top 10 even. Okay, well, that was a fun exercise. Obviously, this is going to change a bunch. What's going to change? We're going to go to the combine. We're going to get these measurables, get them on a more accurate basis here. These are just estimates from College Football Reference. And so that'll be big. And some guys are going to stand out. They're going to run some crazy 40 time. And we're going to be like, oh, well, Devin A-Chain, yep, he's definitely going to the Chiefs 30th or whatever, you know, and that'll blow everybody's minds. But yeah, combine's the end of next month. And then the draft is what, in April, end of April, if I remember correctly. So 27th through the 29th. So that'll be fun. Anything else you guys want to note? So I ended up with JSN, Quentin Johnston, Zach Evans, and Kayshawn. Pretty excited about that draft. Anybody else?
Ruining all my fun. You ruin all my fun.
Yeah,
Jordan.
But you ended up with Bijan, Jordan Addison, and maybe like CJ Stroud if you want him, or Tank or Kendra Miller.
Yeah, but I want Bijan Robinson, JSN, and Keyshawn Butte.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's what I want.
Fair enough. Zach, any other thoughts?
I think it'll be fun to see if there are trades with draft picks. You know, it's our first rookie draft. We mentioned a couple of examples. I think Edmondson's a great example of if he stands pat, you know, he doesn't really meet his needs, probably. You know, that we think the top two quarterbacks, there's a teardrop afterward. You know, he might not get one at 2.02. So is he going to trade? Is he going to venture into those scary waters and start making big trades? Or who's going to make the first draft pick trade during the draft? You know what I mean? I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, because I have done a lot of exploration, and no one is interested in the second half of the draft in trading back to the very first of the second round.
Yeah, and I think you can see that here. Like it got tougher right here. I mean, Josh Downs was great, but even my 10th pick was, you know, a little. It's like, oh man, am I really picking Zach Evans here? A guy I'm not super excited about. So there's definitely some tier breaks, and that'll really determine some trades. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the draft. I think it's gonna be fun. You know, we'll just take our time with it the whole weekend, and make our picks. We can announce them whenever. And
the 26 picks come in and we start making trades.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be the real barn burner right there.
Hopefully not literally.
Hopefully not literally. Well, this is fun.
I mean, you have to assume someone gets in the car on Sunday without their 26th first round pick.
Waldrop, for sure. Like easily.
Oh, for sure.
100%. Yeah.
And also, I'll call David out too. Maybe David.
Although, I mean, Waldrop is trying to, make moves to get younger. So I've seen, some attempts. So maybe I'm gonna hold on to his first. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna keep holding on to him.
Yeah, that's been my biggest surprise, I think, of this offseason is that win now teams that win all in are like they want to go all in again.
He's like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just
not a
gonna roll
single
it,
one
run
is
it back.
like, all right, let me blow it up.
Yeah.
Let me get, because you could get a lot of draft capital and,
Yeah,
and just take
especially
one year off.
If you're the first person to blow it up, you could get a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Because right now, almost everybody except for a few teams are trying to win next year, right?
Oh
and we're
yeah,
gonna
I
have
feel like
a lot of assets to go around.
12 teams think they have a shot at the playoffs right now.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think 12 is the number right now. I think Eddie's.
I mean, unless Edmondson decides not to get a quarterback, then maybe 11. But I feel like if he just got a quarterback, he'd be competitive.
Yeah, especially if Javonte coming back healthy is going to be really big for his team.
Yeah, that's true.
He believes in Pickett. I think that's we'll see. We'll see. He wasn't a fantasy phenomenon his rookie year, so
he looks real damn good compared to the other quarterbacks of this class. So
yeah, that class was rough. I think it'll be interesting. One thing I've wanted to do was talk about last year's draft a little bit, like kind of go back and do an analysis of like maybe what we thought was going to happen versus what actually happened, because last year's draft was a banging draft. I mean, it went really well. All things considered, because it's my first year playing Dynasty, and everyone on the internet saying, well, this is like the worst draft in forever. This is the worst skill position draft in forever. And I'm going into it thinking, okay, what is there, like 5 guys that are interesting? No, there's more than that in just the wide receiver room. I mean, there was like 8 wide receivers or more that hit, like really hit, and all of a sudden are real important assets in the dynasty world. On top of that, we have 2 running backs who are big time. So yeah, the QB room was rough. Tight end, it was Trey McBride was the big guy to go get, and he hasn't proven anything yet. Dulcich, I guess I've got the hopeful guys on my team for that class, but it was a really interesting class. And so we look at this class and we think it's like so deep. Maybe we're wrong about that. The mocks are starting to make it questionable, like guys that we thought were shoo-ins like Tank and Kendre not getting the draft capital. So I just think it'd be interesting to go back and look at that class, because the mock drafts were pretty different from how it actually all turned out. But
yeah, I agree.
I think
the wide receivers are just wild.
Yeah.
At this point in the mock drafts, like Malik Willis and Ritter and who's the quarterback that went to South Carolina? Like they were all
Corral.
Yeah, they were all first round super flex picks. They were all mocked to go in the first round of the NFL draft. And so a lot can change.
They did not. Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty wild. And that's when the doomers showed up on Reddit, like, oh, this class is just so bad. But even in Superflex,
so much of Reddit's through a Superflex league lens, though, and so there's only one quarterback that might go in a first round of a Superflex draft.
Yeah,
that's where a lot of the hate would come from.
Absolutely, but this draft in Superflex, lots of options. You might not love him, but Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. Both guys going, Richardson going 16th to Commanders. You got to think that both those guys might be a little bit of a project, but they could be really great down the road for fantasy. But we're not playing Superflex. No one cares in this league. So, all right, guys. Well, I think this was fun. We'll have to do another one, close to maybe after the combine, after the draft, and I don't know if the combine's how much that's going to change, but we could do it again and get another tankathon here.
Yeah,
so that'll be fun. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. We'll do another one soon. See you guys next time. Like and subscribe, right? That's what they say. Like and
Always.
subscribe.
We need a sponsor. Let's get a sponsor.
Exactly.